Hi folks. I got cut off in that last video and I continued it into a video, and then this morning I woke up and I thought I'm not going to show that second video, because after responding to some emails from some of you, I realized that there's something else I should probably teach you this week, and then next week I'll show you that other video. What I want to show you are ways to think strategically using Illustrator, things that can help save you time. And so one of those things might be if you're drawing something symmetrical. Say you're going to draw a vase. So if you draw one side of your vase, you can stop there, and then make this fill negative. Always remember to go and tweak your points. I think some of you, when you're working, you just draw it and then you don't go and evaluate how everything's working. So go in and push your handles in, out, swerve them. You can move the point out. You can go in and add another point, which is also just hitting the plus sign to do that. And when you hover, you can use the delete sign to release one. You can hit the plus sign and add one, and then go back to the direct selection tool and play around to get those curves. Like if I want this base of this vase to be really minimal, maybe flatten it a little bit more. So there's that nuancing. And here I'm going to move that handle in a little bit more so I get that curve nicer. Okay, so here's half my vase. And then I go and I select that, I copy it, I paste it, and then I go to Object and I transform and I reflect it. I'm doing vertical 90 degrees, but you can also do horizontal. You can also rotate by a specific degree if you want. And then I go and I bring it up here and I get those points right there close together, and I can drag over them to select both those points if there aren't too many points there, using the direct selection tool. Sorry, not the black tool, the direct selection tool. So all the others are white and the two that I want to join are black. Go up to Path, hit Join or Command J. And so now it's joined. And so this, I would want to do Shift C to get the handles to come out and get that just right. And then up here, I would also do the same thing. Drag over those 2 points, go to Path, Join. There I go. And then these points again, Shift C to get the anchor points out to soften those points. And I might realize after I've done that I actually don't want 2 points there. And so then I can go and hit the minus sign and delete one of those points and move this in. Okay. And then I probably want to square these corners up more and add another line to create the inside of my vase, right? So again, you could go and work something out to get it just right, drawing a line or shape, but just use the ellipse tool and drag over it. Pull it in. Also, when I started doing freehand, when I started modifying this, they're not even anymore. Sometimes what I do after I start modifying something is I go and I get my rulers, show rulers and grab a guide. I think I didn't teach you this too. You can pull over here. This right here is your 0 point. So when I drop it, it becomes 0 this way and 0 that way. So what I can do is bring my 0 point into the middle of my vase here and drop it. So now I can look over here and I can see I can maybe make that, what is that? Something eighths, I guess 5/8 or something. I can drag this to the spot right between 1/2 and 3/4 to make sure it's perfectly even, and I make sure that this is on the 0 point. So you can use your rulers to make something symmetrical. And then I can bring this back in here, pull this in. I can play with how squat it is. And then when I'm ready to go fill my shapes, so I've got my colors, I'll just fill this with red, get rid of the outline, and I will send that to the back. And then my vase, I will fill with orange, like that. Pretty wonky looking vase. But anyway, so that's a shortcut that you can use. The other thing is I want to remind you that Pathfinder over here is such a great tool. So if you wanted to draw, say, a coffee cup, you could do a rounded rectangle, and then you could take an ellipse tool. Actually, yeah, take an ellipse tool down here and pull it so it's just right, maybe squat it a little bit more, and then drag over that and join them together. And then I would take an ellipse tool here to fill my coffee cup a little and do the red. And then for my handle, I could take that circle. I might, depending on what you want, you might want to draw something, but you can start by creating a shape and then go in and play with it to get a handle shape. And then when you want to do the fill, you can copy it, paste it, shrink it a bit, make it another color so I can see what I'm doing. Place it over there. If that looks right, then you can, I think I want it a little smaller. And then you can cut it out. I can use, you know what? There. So then I have that, right? And so maybe I tilt it a little. And then I can join right over these and connect that whole thing. And then I can send this to back. And there's my coffee cup. And, I was a little rough and crude here, but I can always go in and fix these corners here. So then the way I make clouds all the time is I use circles. I use perfect circles, and I worked in a children's museum, so I've made a lot of clouds in my day. So I take all these clouds and all these circles, and then I fill it. I probably could do better. One of the things that I do want to stress is that you spend time reevaluating and nuancing things. You might want a cloud that is more free form, so then you could go into something that you've already created and pull these apart and make them more. I use Susian because, again, I worked at a children's museum. So playing with things like that. So the Pathfinder is definitely your friend. And you just want to strategically work on something. Another thing too is if you have drawn a circle and say you want half a sun, right? So here's my circle, and I may not have taught you folks this, but you can use the scissors. So under the eraser is the scissors tool. And so you can go and click and click, and notice how that point at the bottom isn't showing up anymore. And that's because I've made this two shapes, okay? So you can cut anything. Say you've drawn something, say you have your coffee cup and you don't like that handle there anymore. So you can go and cut and cut. And you see how the dots change, so it's eliminated that portion. So I can delete that. And it's a little funky because this is still part of that shape, and I can totally delete that. Okay? So when you're doing things, you want to strategically be thinking about some things. Another thing too is how to make a line. If you take your straight line, right? You've made a straight line before. You can play with this line. I'm going to make it 10 points, and you can make a dashed line. You can make them curved here. You can change what's in the gap as well. Oops, I'm not sure I did there. So you can change what's in the gap. There's some, you might want to have some trim like that. And then another thing you can do too to make it perfectly dotted is that you would make the dash 0, and then it makes it rounded. And so if you want your dots to be closer together, you would make them smaller gap. And if you wanted your dots to be bigger, you would change the point size. Oops, I don't think I was selected on it when I did that. Okay, so those are just some little ways to make things easier for yourself. Okay.